So hi there. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dave Ramslie. I'm the Sustainable Development Program Manager with the City of Vancouver. So I work broadly on building-related policies and programs with the city that are, trying to green our building stock. And as Amanda mentioned off the top, I'm going to be talking today about the green buildings, program area within the Greenest City Action Planning Team. I'm the co-chair of the working group for the Green Buildings Program, along with Will Johnston, and I'll just talk to you today about what our goals are, where we are in the process, and some of the ideas and strategies that we're thinking about initially that will hopefully help us achieve some of the goals we've laid out for ourselves. Other button. Yes. So we have a broad goal within the Green Buildings Group, and that is to become a world leader in green buildings. So sort of difficult to quantify, a bit out there, and it's one of those ones that's not necessarily a 2020 related target, but it's something that we're working towards. And for the purposes of kind of containing my presentation and discussion today, when people talk about green buildings, it's there's everything from waste to water to energy to green roofs to indoor environmental air quality. And the buildings that we live in and work in and that we're going to be building will play a really important role in helping us achieve some of the other Greenest City related goals, like the reduction in potable water use, most of which is done within buildings, green mobility, places to park bikes within buildings or plug in electric cars, urban forests, solid waste diversion. You could even imagine that there might even be building-related impacts to creating a sustainable urban food system. So while I'm sitting on some of these advisory committees, and there we'll be generating information that will feed into our building policy long-term, that won't be the focus of this presentation today, but I just thought I would highlight it here for you to let you know that we haven't forgotten about these things when I start my talk today. So with relation to the Green Building Working Group within the Greenest City 2020 plan, we have two key 2020 targets, and that is one, to reduce the energy we use in our existing building stock by 20% by 2020, and the second is to achieve carbon neutral new construction by 2020. Both significant goals, and both are probably both are comparable with best practices global targets. For example, the European Union has adopted a 20% reduction in existing buildings by 2020. The state of California has set out a target to achieve carbon neutral new construction by 2017. So by achieving some of these goals, we do actually put ourselves among the leaders in the world in terms of where we're heading. In terms of the process that we've entered into, this is sort of kind of some key dates and milestones that we're heading towards. So the two outcomes of the process that we're in directly right now will be one strategic plan to achieve the carbon neutral 2020 goal, and then another strategic plan to achieve the 20% reduction goal. Those will be going to draft council reports approximately around November 18th. Then they get spread out for wider public consultation and consumption from there. There might be some refining to those strategies from that time, and then hopefully we'll have council adoption of draft strategies by the spring of 2011. In terms of, Amanda touched briefly in terms of the process where we have an internal working group that's generating a lot of the work program ideas, content, trying to frame up the information to support, additional insight, strategy, information from our external advisory committee. We've struck our external advisory committee, and we've set up 4 meetings that we've had with them. We're actually at meeting number 3 on as of Monday of next week, I believe, I think it's Monday. I'll be there. Trust me, I will be there. And so the first meeting was really to scope the issue out with them, because a lot of the things that we're talking about here aren't, are quite new to a lot of people, actually. They don't really realize some of the issues that we face within our building stock. 2 is where we had, was actually, somewhere between the Calgary Stampede crossed with a rocket ship ride in terms of getting everyone's information out of their brains and onto into a workshop format in terms of getting everyone's ideas on the table. Still recovering from that one. And then what we've been busily trying to do for the past couple weeks is try to shape those ideas into some sort of synthesis of some of the existing stuff that we're doing, and then try to put it into a framework where we're separating new and existing building targets away from each other and that kind of thing. So hopefully we're going to achieve synthesis on Monday. Then we're going to take a break in August, do some more refining, get it into a strategy, and then set it out for a final review meeting in September. Now, very aggressive timelines. I expect we'll probably have more than 4 meetings, but this is the draft process we're moving forward with. So Sean already showed you the scope of the issues. It's the biggest piece of the pie in terms of buildings. And this is, I'm going to start where he left off here. So when you look at the actual sources of our emissions moving forward, the ones that are related directly to the building stock are almost half. So around 450,000 tons of GHGs. When you look at the ones that we specifically are responsible for delivering as a city, it's about 318,000 tons of GHGs. So that are going to have to come out of, aggressive programs, policies, and strategies as they relate to the built environment. What's really surprising for me, and I think what's probably surprising for a lot of maybe the planners and stuff in this room, is that when you look at how small that new building construction number is, and this is based on achieving a 2030 carbon neutrality target. It's going to be maybe about 15,000 tons if you take it down to 2020. But you really look at the retrofits market and the potential of savings there. Really new construction represents a really small portion of our 2020 target. It becomes much more important on a 2050 time horizon, but in terms of actually turning the corner and achieving deep reductions in terms of greenhouse gases, retrofits are the big game in town when it comes to the built environment. I put electric vehicles in there, and people may think that's a bit of an outlier. Kind of orphaned over here on its own. But the reason why that's in there is because it's, the way we think about fueling our vehicles right now is going to change with electric vehicles. It's not going to be done in gas stations. There's not going to be, there's some people out there who think there may be battery swapping parks and that kind of thing. But, a change to electric or low carbon vehicles is going to have a profound effect on our building stock, because that's where a lot of the charging for electric vehicles is going to have to happen. So a lot of the secret to the widespread deployment of electric vehicles is actually going to probably necessitate large changes in how we regulate parking and the building code. So there's going to be a lot of work to be done there in terms of providing the infrastructure to set electric vehicles up for success. So what are the issues that we have to resolve to achieve this 20% reduction in existing buildings and also in new construction? Well, you may look downtown and see a lot of multi-unit residential building towers down there, and a lot of them are mostly covered in glass. And what we've done in terms of doing a study on we started with 55, we ended up with about 38 of these buildings. It's the largest study ever done on how building energy is actually consumed in residential buildings. And what we found was shocking, was that we thought we had all these electric baseboard heated buildings in the downtown core, but that really 50% of their energy use is coming from natural gas. So pretty astounding. That we found that 68% of the energy that they're consuming is leaving the building completely unused. So it's actually never utilized. So that is terrible from an energy efficiency standpoint. We found out that in order to if you totaled up the amount of energy going in and divided that by the square footage and then got an effective R value envelope out of that, we're cruising with buildings that have about R3. And to put that into context, code is about R14 and a canvas tent is about R1. So we're closer to canvas tents than we are to code in terms of our actual energy performance in buildings. And that's not even actually how bad it really is, because that's just the energy that people are paying for. It's not the energy that's coming off of me, off of my fridge, off of my TV, my dog. My wife creates an incredible amount of heat when she sleeps. It's actually frightening. So when you factor that into the equation, it's probably closer to R2. Really, when we actually get back to the physics of the equation. So, and what we're finding too is that when people are living in 750 square foot apartments downtown, that their energy consumption isn't significantly different from a single family home in the suburbs, which is defies not only the laws of physics, but the laws of geometry. So, Houston, we have a problem. The other thing that's kind of troubling for us as well too is that all these buildings are built under a code, and one of the codes, which was is competitive North America wide in terms of its energy efficiency. And one of the purposes of the code is also to apply standardization across building types, right? So when Michael Gordon walks into a building, he can know that he has some security, that it has the same fire protection measures as all other buildings, or that it's less likely, it's as likely to fall down as other buildings, or not as likely. But what we found in terms of the actual energy consumption in these buildings is it varies wildly, in that there is no standardization, in that we can't actually manage the problem right now with our current policies because there's a variation factor of 5 in terms of the amount of energy that's being consumed from building to building. This is taken from buildings that are the majority of which have fallen under some sort of energy efficiency regulation.